So as many of you are already aware, Nothing has released its 4th generation flagship earbuds, confusingly named the Nothing Ear 3. And man, I knew this was going to be a problem ever since they dropped the numbered naming convention on last year's Nothing Ears. Like, what were they supposed to call the sequel to the Nothing Ear? Like the Nothing Ear Pro? And then what, right? So anyway, luckily though, thankfully, Nothing is not as bad as making earbuds as they are at naming them. They're actually quite good at making earbuds. The Ear series has consistently delivered excellent sound quality, robust companion apps, and some pretty cool retro tech aesthetics. But the latest model actually has a new trick up its sleeve, or rather up its case, and it's something that I've never seen before in wireless earbuds. So what is it? Just how useful is it? And is it worth paying an extra $30 compared to the previous model? Stick around, because I'll go over all of that and more. So in terms of the look and feel, Nothing has retained the exact same form factor here from prior generations and added a few refinements. They both have the exact same transparent lid case on top. The earbuds are in the same orientation, but as you may have already noticed, now you get this nice polished aluminum metal finish on the Nothing Ear 3 over just, the black plastic that you had on the previous Nothing Ear. So the metal accents do add quite a nice polish and flash to the earbuds that make it look and feel more premium. Even the earbuds themselves now have these little metal accents that are visible through the transparent casing. Overall, it feels like a more durable premium package that is definitely flashier, and it also fits in better with the company's latest Headphone 1. Let me pull those out so you can see. Comparing them to the Headphone 1 here, as you can see, they have the exact same kind of metal finish that those headphones had around the outside slabs here. So, this now all fits nicely in together with a tied together design philosophy that kind of unifies the product lineup. Still though, adding metal to it does make the earbuds and case a few grams heavier, but personally, I didn't really find that to be a problem when it came to comfort. Now the earbuds use the same general shape as before, but the stem angle in the new Ear 3 actually sits a little bit lower and tighter to the base of my ear, and I found that it helped keep them a lot more stable in my ears compared to the last model, especially if I'm moving around or working out or jogging. You also get 4 sizes of silicone ear tips to help you get a secure fit and seal. I was able to wear these for about 2-hour stretches at a time without feeling any fatigue or, letting my ears need to take a break. So both the earbuds and the charging case here are IP54 rated for resistance to dust, sweat, and light rain. Now you might be wondering what these 2 little square dots are. That's actually a new little lanyard loop that they've added to the side of the case, which is a design element that their sub-brand, the CMF Buds, have always had for some time. But now I guess they've decided to carry that over and implement it into the main Nothing product line. Personally, I've never really wanted my earbuds dangling precariously from a lanyard, attached to my belt or backpack. The idea of that just gives me anxiety about my earbuds, flinging around and flying off somewhere. But hey, maybe you might have a particular use case for this, and so I don't know if that's useful or not to you. It isn't to me, maybe it is to you. In terms of controls, it's the same familiar deal, right? They use pinch controls along the indentation at the base of the stem here. All the controls are adjustable within the MDAQS app, except for single pinch. That one isn't for some reason. Single pinch only plays and pauses music, or if you're on a phone call, it'll answer or hang up the call. There's no swipe controls for volume, which I think would have been nice to see, as it is a bit cumbersome to keep having to pinch and hold just to adjust one notch of volume. You're really just better off using your phone and the app for making volume adjustments there. As for connectivity, the Nothing Ear 3 uses Bluetooth 5.4, which does future-proof it for upcoming technologies, such as Orcast support if they decide to add that. The earbuds then support AAC, SBC, and even come with LDAC support for delivering a higher streaming quality on supported devices. There's also a low latency mode that brings the end-to-end delay down to about 120 milliseconds. It's not that low latency, but it is better than just standard Bluetooth for gaming or video. And you also get dual device connection, which allows for pairing to 2 devices at once. It's not true Bluetooth multi-point, but at least you still get the option to connect to 2 devices simultaneously. For pairing, Nothing includes Google Fast Pair support on Android, Microsoft Swift Pair on Windows, or if you're on iOS, well, you just got standard Bluetooth pairing. Now, because I use Android, pairing was as simple as simply opening the case and, popping the earbuds in my ears. And then after the initial app setup, they'll just instantly pair every time that easily. As for battery life, the Nothing Ear 3 lasted 5 hours and 12 minutes with ANC on in our testing, and the company claims that that playback can extend up to 22 hours with the case. Now that is on the lower end of what we've seen on wireless earbuds in this price range. Usually about 8 to 10 hours is ideal, and that would have been a bit more useful for travel, but 5 hours is enough for daily commutes to and from work or that kind of thing. The case also supports wireless charging, so you can plop them down on a Q pad, and it does support fast charging via USB-C, which gives you 10 hours of listening time for only 10 minutes of charging time. The Nothing Ear 3 of course uses the MDAQS app, which is still excellent and remains one of the best companion apps in the wireless audio space today. I mean, if you've seen our previous reviews, you know what to expect here, right? You got spatial audio, you can do ANC adjustments, it's got the bass level enhancer, which has 5 different levels of bass. You know, it can do a personalized sound profile test. The real standout though is not just the equalizer, but advanced custom equalizer. I mean, this is a full parametric equalizer for those who really want to dial in specific frequencies with adjustable Q values. We saw this on the Nothing Headphone 1 as well, so it's nice to see it again here with the Nothing Ear 3. But if that's a little too complicated for you, there is a handful of EQ presets, and you do get a custom tri-band equalizer. So, you know, that's kind of a nice way to just dip your toes into the world of EQ and, you know, test out some simple kind of tri-band presets there and, you know, play around with it, see what you like. When it came to the personalized sound profile, I found it kind of just added more treble emphasis for me, and I really just preferred using either the default balance preset or my own custom more. But hey, maybe that'll work better for you. Now, as you might have noticed as I'm scrolling on my phone here, the Super Mic, what is that? Well, this is the headline act for the features on the Nothing Ear 3. So let's talk about it, right? Because I don't think the Super Mic here quite lives up to the name, but it is kind of cool. So basically, you can either press or double press the talk button on the side of the case here, and it'll activate 2 MEMS speakers on the other side of the case, and then you can talk into your case as a microphone. I guess instead of talking into your phone as a normal person, or instead of talking into the built-in microphones on the earbuds, you have the option of speaking into a microphone on the charging case. Now, I do think it's a little weird that the main use case that Nothing is selling this feature for is for phone calls and online meetings, because it is a little awkward and not very intuitive, you know, to just like hold up the charging case and be talking into it like a walkie-talkie here. It takes some getting used to. I think it's very much easier to just have a hands-free conversation, you know, via the microphones built into the earbuds, or just use your phone and talk into your phone like a normal person does. Now, the Super Mic works across most major apps, including Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, and even WhatsApp. Still, the compatibility isn't universal. For instance, the Super Mic won't work with standard Android camera apps, only those that allow manual microphone selection, and even with those apps, I sometimes notice some audio lag when recording video. The mic also isn't optimized for leaving quick in-app voice messages, which is a shame because sometimes, you know, leaving a voice message in something like WhatsApp is just easier and faster than actually writing out a text, especially when you're on the go in a rush. So overall, I didn't find the Super Mic very useful for calls or messaging, but what I actually really liked it for was voice notes. Now, for someone in a profession like mine, you know, as a tech journalist and a writer, I'll sometimes have fleeting thoughts or strikes of inspiration that, you know, I want to jot down before I forget. And so taking a quick, you know, voice note with the case here, that was a lot easier than trying to scramble for a pen and write it down on paper before I forget. Now, Nothing Phone 3 owners have an exclusive feature called Essential Space, which will automatically transcribe Super Mic recordings and turn them into text notes. Now, originally I was kind of bummed out because that sounded even better than, you know, having to go back and listen to myself in my own voice recordings. But luckily, because I have a Samsung Galaxy phone, the Samsung voice recorder works with Samsung Interpreter to do just that. So, haha, Nothing, I managed to make my own Essential Space. So I was pretty happy about that. I could take voice notes with the case and have them transcribed automatically with Samsung Galaxy's AI. So don't feel you necessarily need to buy the latest Nothing phone just to have that feature. I was able to do that on my Samsung phone, and maybe you will as well with the devices that you're using. So even though Super Mic is a little awkward to use, right? You have to press and hold, and you have to angle it, you know, at close to your mouth here. I mean, maybe the microphone quality makes it worth enduring that learning curve, right? Maybe it is worth trying to get used to instead of using your earbuds or phone, right? unfortunately not. The sound quality can vary a lot depending, as I said, how close you hold to your mouth, you know, the orientation, the angle, how far away it is. And honestly, like, even when I had a good angle and distance from my mouth, there was quite a bit of clipping going on, and my voice sounded just as muffled and robotic as it did using the earbuds. Now, we have plenty of mic sample recordings on our review on SoundGuys.com for you to try out, but I am going to take a few here just so you can listen to yourself for the comparison in real time. Now, to use Super Mic, you need to have at least one earbud outside of the case, and I'm going to put it over here so you know that's not the one that is recording my voice. So let's see here.
Hey, Chase here, not Adam. Adam tried doing the microphone samples for this video, and then we realized in post that actually the audio was recorded through his phone's microphone. And then after recording this video, Adam decided to get on an airplane and go to Spain and Portugal and go on a nice vacation without me. And so now here I am doing the microphone demonstration for this video just to make sure you guys can still hear what the Super Mic sounds like. So I'm talking into the Super Mic right now on the Nothing Ear 3 case, and it's close to my mouth, but you can hear what it sounds like when I hold it farther away, when I hold it down by my chest, or if I tilt it so the microphone is a little bit off axis. So yeah, let us know what you guys think of the microphone quality down below.
Alright, and now for the comparison with the earbuds themselves, and also these Nothing earbuds, they added a bone conduction unit to the microphones as well, so it can pick up on the vibrations through my jaw bones to better capture my voice that way, aside from the mics themselves. So that's not going to translate into our mic samples on the website, but hopefully that will translate into the live demo I'm about to give you here. The reason why it doesn't translate into our mic samples on the website is because our testing head is not a real person's head. It doesn't have a bone structure. It can't pick up and measure bone conduction signals, right? So, but I have a head and bones, so I'm going to do it here.
Well, I'm not Adam, but I am made of meat and bones, and I'm back here to give you guys an example of what the microphone sounds like through the Nothing Ear 3. So yeah, I'm now talking through the Nothing Ear 3, and I'm talking and not Adam because Adam's recording went through his phone and now he's in Europe, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, let us know what you think of the microphone quality down below.
So now that the Super Mic stuff is out of the way, let's talk about some of the core features, starting with active noise cancellation. Now, Nothing advertises about 45 decibels of noise attenuation with the Ear 3, and we're not quite seeing that in our results in our charts, but that doesn't mean the ANC is bad. As you can see, our testing shows up to 35 decibels of attenuation from ANC in the low frequencies, so that'll help cancel things like, say, generators or AC units. And then in the high end, you can see up to 38 decibels of attenuation in the high-end frequencies, so that'll help cancel out things like, say, like the rusty screeching of a subway rail. And overall, the Ear 3 reduces the perceived loudness of outside noise by an average of 82%, which is actually really good, and that is 7% more than the previous Nothing Ears from 2024. So now the big question, how do the Nothing Ear 3 actually sound? Honestly, pretty good. Now, they are a bit too bass heavy and a bit too treble heavy out of the box for my taste. The overemphasis there was never too overwhelming to my ears, but they are definitely going for that V-shaped tuning that, you know, appears to be such a crowd pleaser these days. At times, things like kick drums or synths in some bass-heavy tracks could come out a bit too boomy, and it did cause some vocals to sound a little too hollow or distant than I would like. But thanks to that custom equalizer I showed you earlier, I was able to tweak those issues and get these earbuds to sound pretty close to how I like. Now, the Nothing Ear 3 also introduces new 12mm dynamic drivers over the previous 11 found in the ear, and I found that they delivered even better clarity. Attack was generally precise, and I could clearly hear the snap of snare drums and the pluck of guitar strings. I also found the drivers had much better width than previously. For instance, listening to Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, the synths had excellent spatial width, creating a really wide sense of immersion from side to side in that soundtrack. Our simulated panel of listeners also rates the Nothing Ear 3 very highly across the board. In particular, I want to point out the low distortion as indicated by the high score. A higher score for distortion means less distortion. That is particularly impressive. It also matched my experience of hearing little to no distortion while listening at high levels, even with the added bass emphasis and using the bass enhancer from the app. Overall, a score of 4.7 out of 5 is fairly high for wireless earbuds in this price range that we've tested, meaning that most people should enjoy how the Nothing Ear 3 sounds right out of the box. So, should you buy the Nothing Ear 3? I mean, as earbuds, they are very comfortable to wear, they deliver good sound quality, with excellent customization through the app, and they have very strong active noise cancellation. But, I mean, all those things can be said about the previous ears as well, even if the Ear 3 does them all slightly better. So essentially you're paying an extra $30 for the Super Mic feature, that big talk button there, which is a bit awkward to use for phone calls, and it's something you really have to be stationary to use, because if you're walking down the street trying to talk to someone through your case, like, it's going to be moving and bobbing up and down. You know, it's just not very practical and user-friendly, and even when you do get a good orientation and angle, I even still felt my voice sounded muffled, and there was a lot of clipping going on, which was kind of disappointing. I feel this feature really needed to bake in the oven a little bit longer. And I guess you're also paying for the prettier metal case, which, yeah, it looks nicer, but is it $30 nicer? I mean, that's going to be up to you. So while the Super Mic is an innovative idea and it works well for voice notes, especially with transcription, if you can find a workaround if you don't own a Nothing Phone 3, it does feel like a feature that needed a bit more development time in terms of user experience, app compatibility, and background noise rejection. Now, hopefully some of those things can be improved with a future firmware update, so I wouldn't rule them out completely, but it might be kind of a wait and see situation. If you already own the Nothing Ear earbuds from last year, I don't really think the Ear 3 offers enough meaningful improvements to justify an upgrade. However, if you are new to the Nothing ecosystem and you love the look and design, I mean, yeah, these deliver the same great core experience that you'd expect with some new flashy metal accents. But what do you think? Is the Super Mic worth the upgrade? What use case would you find it most useful for? But if the Super Mic doesn't interest you and that's just something you never see yourself using, and all you're looking for are just some simple earbuds that have great sound quality and good ANC, then I recommend you go check out the new lineup of CMF buds by Nothing right over here, because I'll tell you, they are a heck of a lot cheaper than the Nothing Ears, and they really do rival Nothing on core performance. So go check out that video right over there, you won't be disappointed.